The young man introduced himself, recognizing Elgar, who was present. Elgar was at level 35, the strongest person in town, and one of the top 5 adventurers in the kingdom. As the guild master, he had come across the commotion on his way home and decided to help. After briefly being informed about the situation and overhearing their conversation, he took control of the scene with his impressive aura. Skipping the formalities, Elgar was confident the victim wanted to proceed. The atmosphere shifted, making it clear that Elgar was exceptionally strong. As the leader of the Ishka Adventurers Guild, his presence exuded graceful charisma. Sora, now at a higher level, could sense that Elgar was even stronger than the Insect King. Regarding the lie detector request, the guild master used his authority to deny it, surprising everyone in the room. Sora asked if he was supposed to accept this unconditionally, but Elgar admitted the Falcon Sword's fault in the incident and promised appropriate punishment. The victim would be compensated, though it wouldn't be as severe as a death sentence. Elgar explained that the guild needed strong individuals for a brighter future and asked for understanding, clearly aiming to balance justice and practicality. Lars seemed to accept this favorable decision, but clarified his opposition to unreasonable punishment, like his members being cut to pieces to protect their friends. Elgar firmly stated that he had no reason to listen to Sora, who had been disaffiliated from the guild, but acknowledged that the attack on him was inexcusable. He mentioned mitigating circumstances, indicating his intention to conclude the matter with a fair and balanced punishment. Elgar stated that Sora was no longer a guild member, but merely a powerless civilian. Sora insisted that the townspeople should at least know that the adventurers had sacrificed him to save their own lives. The guild master rejected this request, emphasizing that spreading such information would only harm the guild's reputation and create a rift between the townsfolk and adventurers, something they had to avoid at all costs. Sora stayed silent, realizing that Elgar was right. As punishment, the culprits would be tasked with eradicating demons in the forest for a month, losing all rewards they earned. The compensation offered to Sora would be enough capital to open his potion shop, giving him access to previously restricted items he had tried to trade illegally. The guild master knew the city inside out, making this offer particularly tempting. However, Sora saw beyond the surface, understanding that the guild wanted to keep the matter hidden. Elgar made one final offer, a guild badge that promoted Sora to Class 9 and exempted him from monthly fees. He asked Sora to end things amicably by accepting the silver badge. Though tempted, Sora ultimately rejected the offer, realizing that none of his demands had been met and the guild was merely trying to ensure the Falcon Sword's survival without delivering justice. He reiterated his request for a priest, undeterred by Elgar's reminder of his potential dismissal. Sora handed over the requested payment, but the guild master, feeling guilty, hesitated. Elgar promised to summon the priest himself and turned to Maru, asking firmly if she admitted to the crime of trying to kill him with the monster. Elgar warned against the path Sora was taking, emphasizing that adventurers were role models who wouldn't engage in such actions. He dismissed Sora's claims as paranoid fantasies and threatened appropriate measures if he persisted. Sora, undeterred by the threats, sarcastically suggested that they should just let him leave with a lesson learned. The guild master tried to stop him, saying they weren't done, but Sora insisted it was selfish to keep him when they had no intention of listening. Sora blocked the small door and demanded that they listen to him. When they threatened to take appropriate action if he didn't move, Sora, angered by their disrespect towards his master, reminded them that he had benefited the guild for 5 years. He questioned whether Elgar's dedication really meant protecting a murderer, his anger rising. Before things escalated further, the guild master intervened, addressing Sora. He acknowledged Sora's rejection, but added that the guild no longer needed to act on his behalf, since he had refused all terms of mediation. He let his hostility show, and warned Sora not to harm the guild in any way. Sora laughed at their threats, dismissing them as absurd, and called Lars useless. He made sure to get the last word, mocking their collusion. As he walked out, he resolved to rid himself of Leal that day. Now, both the Adventurers Guild and the Falcon Sword were his enemies, fueling a liberating yet violent feeling inside him. He acknowledged Soul Eater, accepting that they were one and the same, worn out by endless misery. Despite the sunset, the sun-warmed stones kept the city warm. His hesitation mirrored the conflict in his heart. The meeting had gone as he expected, knowing his demands would not be met. Yet he was still shocked by the party's refusal to acknowledge their sins. His chances were slim, and a faint regret lingered in his chest as he had hoped for their honesty. Lars, especially, had been a dependable leader who comforted him when he felt weaker. 5 years ago, they had welcomed him into their party when he was alone, filling him with immense joy. During their early days of adventuring, when they were all on the same level, they experienced a satisfaction he had never known before. If only they had admitted their mistake, he could have forgiven them and moved on. He thanked them one last time, now seeing them as mere enemies protecting someone who tried to kill him. The attempted murder had been covered up, and he was even threatened with severe actions. He vowed to tear them apart, making them feel the suffering he had endured in the monster's lair. He contemplated his revenge. Punishing everyone involved seemed justifiable, but he wondered if he could do it. It was unquestionable that he had grown much stronger, strong enough to kill the Lord of the Flies. Moreover, he had become a formidable leader. Yet, Elgart was a dangerous first-class adventurer. Reflecting on the many adventurers he had met in his hometown, they all had a unique intensity about them. Considering various outcomes if they fought, he realized it would likely end with his hands severed from his body. The odds were against him, and he couldn't even imagine a scenario where he ultimately defeated the guild master. The only real issue was the formidable strength of the Falcon Swords. While he gathered herbs, they grew stronger each day. Lars and the others were likely at levels 15 to 20, but Luna seemed even higher. Regardless, he hadn't yet reached their level since they became stronger as a team. Considering this, he thought about separating them and targeting each one individually. The depths of the forest, hidden from the guild's view and filled with monsters, might be useful for this. First, he had to lure Lars there alone and incapacitate him. Once he led Lars into the forest, he could take them down one by one. The mage would be his first target for attempting to take his life. He'd pile up the bodies of the party members and savor the despair on their faces. It didn't bother him if the mage tried to kill him, driven by misguided loyalty. Next, he planned to make the monster's den a livable place for himself. He thought through the essentials, and remembered how long it had been since he last spent a night out. The preparations made him excited and grateful to the monster's victims because they had left behind ample supplies. However, he suddenly recalled the gold coins he had shown off and had forgotten to retrieve when his request for a priest was denied. Thinking about going back to the guild, he imagined their shock and pity if he tried to reclaim his money. Sora decided against it, knowing they would look down on him. Desperate, he pulled at his hair, feeling the weight of his poverty. Then, he noticed a familiar figure on the street. His face soured when he saw Luna approaching. Sora left after a critical yet unproductive negotiation, leaving those remaining in the room feeling resentful. Suddenly, Luna felt a pain as if her heart was being consumed by darkness. Ilya hurried to check on her, and used a spell to alleviate the discomfort. As Luna calmed down, Lars asked what was on her mind. The elf pondered who this young man was. He resembled Sora, yet she was certain she knew their former member well when he was part of the party. They had always prepared for adventures together, but this man was undeniably different. As an elf, her eyes could only see endless darkness and a dragon-like shadow looming over him. powerful and relentless. She had seen no such creature when she encountered him in the forest. This made her wonder what had happened in the woods, and whether this young man was truly Sora, or an evil monster that had possessed him. Elgard noticed her troubled expression, but Lars interrupted her thoughts, questioning if they should just let the incident pass since Sora had rejected their offer. He insisted they were in the wrong this time, and that what they did was unforgivable. The only reason he had protected them was because Sora's actions were destabilizing the guild and causing a shift towards Leal. He asked if the young man mentioned anything about the Fly Lord. He remembered Sora talking about nearly being devoured by the monster, and wanting to make the culprits feel even a fraction of the despair he had faced. If those words were true, then it was likely that Sora had been taken to the creature's lair, considering the time it took for him to return. They worried that the Fly Lord's nest might be close to the town, unaware that it had already been defeated. This made them realize the importance of Sora's information. Bellark wondered how Sora had managed to fend off such beasts in the forest, and regretted not listening to him earlier. Luna knew that very few monsters would attack Sora now, because he had the aura of a dragon, but she also knew no one would believe her if she told them. She needed a reason to talk to him. She saw a gold coin on the ground and picked it up, realizing it was the same coin Sora had flaunted earlier. As she walked towards the town, she encountered the person she was searching for. He was initially hostile, but she marveled at how close he was now, clearly seeing the dark entity and feeling its overwhelming pressure. She tried to return his coin, but he silently accepted it, relieved that he wasn't completely broke anymore. Luna then apologized for the past, specifically for abandoning him. Bowing deeply, she sincerely asked for his forgiveness, while onlookers watched the strange scene. She explained that her apology wasn't just about them, but about something larger. Sora rejected her apology, thanking her for the coin instead. He said that apologizing now was pointless, especially since they hadn't listened to him from the beginning. Luna realized he still had some humanity left, and wasn't completely possessed. She then asked why he didn't show this attitude before. He admitted that he had been too afraid of her to even breathe properly. Sora understood that bowing his head meant taking responsibility for the party's wrongdoing, suggesting that Luna couldn't bow alone without Lars. Luna denied this, questioning why she felt upset now that they were alone. As an elf, she looked down, unable to admit she was pleading for her life, satisfied with maintaining her relationship with the Falcon Sword, but no longer wanting to associate with him. Sora told her to look in the mirror and called her a hypocrite, her cold eyes etched in his mind, targeted by his hatred, claws poised, fangs thirsty for blood, and a sword burning for revenge. He was certain the day would come when he would tear them all apart. Luna watched his retreating back, shrouded in darkness, questioning what had happened to make him this way.